insurance from top carriers. Our local agents have minty fresh breath.
Find us at comparinginsurance.com. Comparion Insurance Agency. Local agents, expert advice.
And there's number 4.
Recently, the U.S. Navy delivered tons of food to hungry people halfway around the world.
But you could help someone in your own community simply by donating a can of soup.
Last week, a Navy doctor saved the life of a total stranger.
Just like you could, by giving a pint of blood.
Right now, a Navy captain is providing guidance to 5,000 young men and women at sea.
While there's at least one young person in your neighborhood who could use your guidance.
Next month, a team of Navy Seabees will change a child's life by building a school in an impoverished area.
You could do the same, simply by volunteering once a week to read at a school right down the street.
The men and women of America's Navy do some amazing things to make the world a better place. So can you. Whether it's by donating food or simply giving time, right in your own backyard. Brought to you by America's Navy.
If you're struggling to pay the mortgage, Making Home Affordable is a free government resource that can make it easier. Call 888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Any views expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of WSIC.
All systems are a go.
Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats. Taking Care of Iredell with North Carolina State Representative Jeff McNeely is about to begin. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, Iredell County. Oh, it looks like it's going to be a nice day. I don't know if the rain's quite gone away yet, but can get out and get some stuff done. We were talking the other day at work. It's about as muddy now as it usually is in January, February. But hey, you know, the rain can go just as easy as it comes. So be thankful for that. Got a good show today. Going to have a friend of mine, Adam Bodley, on. Political consultant, going to talk about a lot of different things. Adam's had a very multi-checkered, no, we won't say checkered. Checkered's a bad word. I always thought checkers were good. But anyway, we'll say multi-job career in politics, working with many, many different political figures that you will know as we talk. Do want to do a shout-out real quick to Miss Statesville Taylor Lloyd, Ashton and Cinnamon Lloyd's daughter, won the Miss North Carolina pageant in High Point this past weekend. So congratulations to her. Best of my knowledge and anybody else's, first time a Miss Statesville has ever won. And she did an outstanding job in many categories, won quite a few of the different divisions or categories, we'll call it. So congratulations to Taylor. We are very proud of you and know that you will represent Statesville and Iredell County to the best of your ability. So we look forward to seeing you and be out there and all over the whole state and on to Miss America. And hopefully she'll win that too. Wow, wouldn't that be something awesome? So anyway, diving right into the news. Anybody wants to talk out there, 704-873-1400. Give us a call. We'd love to hear what you got on your mind. Some interesting things happened over the weekend, and I know it's all been in the national news, but Russian President, call him dictator if you shall, Vladimir Putin is in a bit of trouble. There was almost a coup pulled off. You had the Wagner mercenary army march towards Moscow after capturing a city. The interesting thing about this, these mercenaries are actually, most of them, people that they've got out of prison, jail, wherever, gave them a choice basically of rotting in jail or possibly on the death row over there to go and fight. And so I feel like a lot of them are ex-Russian mafia, a lot of different things, but these are tough people. And they didn't have a lot of options. So they fight very hard, and they have been on the front fighting in Ukraine. And supposedly their leader, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce these names for I will just slaughter them, has said that they've been fired on multiple times by their own people, by the Russian artillery, Russian Air Force, and whatnot. And so he had had enough, I guess, as the old saying goes. And he's been at odds with the Secretary of Defense in Russia for a while, going back and forth. So anyway, this is actually should be very concerning to America. Vladimir Putin, I think, is on the verge of being a crazy man in power, but we do kind of understand his crazy. Russia's still a world force to be reckoned with as far as military power and as far as nuclear weapons. So now we're talking about a possibility. It looks like the coup has been put down. Don't know what kind of negotiations were had, other than it looks like the people that tried to do the coup were pretty much given amnesty and allowed to go to Belarus. So this is going to be interesting. We cannot take the chance, though, of having that country go into free fall turmoil. There's too many bad options that could happen for us and Europe and the world. So this is kind of scary, and these are the things we always worry about when we talk about nuclear armament and whatnot. What happens if the wrong people get in power? And we've been thinking the wrong people have been in power all along, but this could really be the wrong people in power. So just interesting times. Be praying. Be praying, because we just don't know. All right, Joe, looks like we got a caller. We'll take and see who we got out there. Hey, this is Representative Jeff McNeely. Who we got?
Hi, Mr. McNeely. Last week you were on and you were talking about you had a sponsor, someone to sponsor a child going to a summer camp, and I needed that information.
I'm trying to think who that might be and when. I'll tell you what, if you would, trying to think who would do the sponsorship. I don't know if I remember that now. I'll have to go back and look through my notes. You caught me off guard.
Okay.
I'll tell you what,
Okay.
let me give you my cell number. I know, I'm crazy. I'll do that on the air. 704-902-4958. Just shoot me a text or something afterwards, and I'll try to go through my notes and see what kind of summer camp are we talking about. Is it ag-related, or what is it?
It was, to go to the summer camp for after school. Since they're out of school, the kids are out of school.
Okay.
You said you had some people to sponsor them if they couldn't pay for them to go to the camp.
All right, yeah. Just like I said, if you would shoot me a text, 704-902-4958, and I'll try to look back through my notes and see.
Okay.
See if I can come up with something for you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Sometimes you draw a blank. I'm drawing a blank there on that, and Joe. But hey, I probably got it somewhere. I just got to dig a little bit. Hey, one thing we do have going on. Come on now, I got Adam. He's done it here. Come on, he's got to make a little quick run. It looks like, but anyway, he's going to be in the studio with me today. We're getting ready to go down and do override of Governor Cooper this week. Looks like it's going to be tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon. He vetoed quite a few bills. And we're going to go in and see if we can't override those. One of them he vetoed was the Farm Act that we put together every session. And kind of unusual. I mean, he's claiming some issues with the wetlands in our provision. And just to give you a little backstory, a lot of the left, environmentalists are freaking out over the wetlands, and they're very vital, and I get that, and we understand it. And being in farming all my life, and around farms, I mean, we understand you're not going to be able to recapture that land. You're really not. We usually try to fence around it, let it be, because we understand the nature. We don't grow rice in North Carolina, so having 2 foot of water all the time in your crop isn't necessarily going to work. But Michael Regan, who was the head of North Carolina DENR, that would be your Department of Natural Resources and basically your environment, the state EPA, for people that don't understand, took a job with the Biden administration over this federal Environmental Protection Agency. All right, so what we have here before Michael Regan left, him and Roy Cooper in about 2018, 2019, revamped our own wetland rules, kind of, you hate to use the word unbeknownst to the General Assembly, but basically so. And with that being said, made us have some of the most strictest rules in the United States. And that was put forth, and we've been trying to work against some of the regulations in the agency since then, and it's been kind of difficult. So in this proposal in the Farm Act that we put forth that started back in January, basically said that we were going to go back to the original guidelines, which are federal guidelines, not North Carolina's guidelines that Michael Regan put in place when he was still at our basically state EPA. So that was in the Farm Act. Well, in the meantime, because the Biden administration had tried to make federal even more strict, ended up losing that court case, and then it reverted back to actually the 2011 or 2012 wetland ruling, which was less restrictive than what our original were. So our guidelines in the Farm Act was to be in line with the federal. So the federal actually got less restrictive on wetlands, which made our Farm Act less restrictive on wetlands, but still equal to the federal levels, so that we wouldn't be we were, like I said, the most restricted state in the country. So now Roy Cooper's losing his mind because we're on the same level as the federal government's regulations, but we have changed him and Michael Regan's rulings. And so, therefore, he vetoes the Farm Act, which had a lot of other good things in it. It had stuff in there that I'd put in for our dairy farmers. It had stuff in there for talking about trying to work with the methane gas from the hogs with ingesters, or we'll call them digesters, to take care of the methane and also to help create power. It was a great bill, had a lot in it, and unfortunately, or fortunately, the rulings are now equal with the federal government, but that's not good enough for Roy Cooper, like always, and so he plays to the far left in all he does, and so he vetoed it. So we'll probably go down and we will attempt to override that, plus about probably 4 or 5 other bills that he vetoed. Most of those were very non-controversial. He's just determined he's going to pretty much about veto or let lie upon his desk anything we put over there, unless it's just wonderful for him. And we'll go about putting it back in place and putting it in law because we have a supermajority in the House and the Senate. So we'll have that this week, and it really hurts me whenever I see that we bring politics into agriculture, and I know they're there. I do know that. So it's interesting times, but this bill was not that controversial, and it still falls along the federal guidelines. So I tend to scratch my head and say, Roy Cooper, just what do you want from North Carolina? I've said that a lot, though, in the past, close to 8 years now, 7 years. I'm not sure what he wants. All right, I got Adam in the studio now. He's writing me all kind of notes here, and I'm not sure if I can keep up with it all. But anyway, it looks like we got a lot of things going on this week. We'll have him in here. Adam, you can chime in anytime you want to. Say hello.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate Representative McNeely having me. I vote for him. I know lots of people that vote for him.
Well, that's good. That's good. So I'm already working votes for 24, and I got one here in the studio with me.
Well, I've been whipping at that Iredell Men's Club.
All right.
So
good deal.
You showed me how to do it, and I'm just following your lead.
There you go. All right. So moving on to another great thing that happened. Well. And I talked about this a couple radio shows ago because I knew this was coming. You could just almost see it, the writing on the wall, as they say biblically. Old Mandy Cohen. And a lot of y'all might remember Miss Cohen. We won't call her a doctor because she had her license, I think it expired back in 2012, but yet she still uses that title. I guess if you do the educational part, you can still do that if you want to. But she has now been named the director for the Center for Disease Control. And we kind of knew this was coming, like I said. And it doesn't surprise me one bit. Well, it kind of does, but it shouldn't. I don't know why I would let things surprise me. But Mandy and Roy Cooper went about holding our state hostage for about 860 some odd days through the pandemic. Hang on, Adam, you know exact?
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say, sure, Roy Cooper, but shouts out to Pat McCrory.
There you go.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
I like the guy.
I do too. It'd been like, I'd rather have him than what we got now, that's for sure.
Water under the bridge, sadly.
Yep. So North Carolina Republican Senator Ted Budd, him and 6 other senators and 22 House members sent a letter to Biden opposing Cohen for the role that in part called for her political partisan as well as being unfit. Dr. Mandy Cohen is unfit for this position, wrote Budd and the other lawmakers. Dr. Cohen has politicized science, disregarded civil liberties, and spread misinformation about the efficacy and the necessity of COVID vaccinations and the necessity of masks during her time as the Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. She also has a history of engaging in partisan left-wing politics. The letter cites Cohen as a proponent of unnecessarily unscientific COVID restrictions on school children and points out she threatened legal action against school districts that didn't comply with her mask mandates. So, interestingly, she is now over us. And folks, you know, I will say this on Mandy. She listens very well and does what she's told, because that's exactly what we saw happen with her and being head of our North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And I got a good feeling she's going to be a good little soldier and do what she's told as director of the CDC, which is kind of scary because to me it should be an entity that is separate from all political evasiveness, all posturing. It should be about our health as a nation and the concerns we have. But if y'all don't see this coming, I don't know what to tell you, because they're lining up so that 24, we're going to have a spike in something again. It could be COVID. It could be the next great thing. It could just be the common cold. And because of that, then we're going to have to make sure that we send in all kind of absentee ballots, and people can't go to the polls, and we're going to make sure we feed you what we want you to have just from the press and not allow you to get out and socialize with each other. I see something coming, and I'm not happy about it. It's going to be scary at the way they're going to manipulate power. And now speaking, Adam looks like he's got something to tell me. Go ahead.
I got something on that. We're talking all the stuff that happened to us in the last 2 years. How long has it been
3
with COVID?
years about.
Gravy.
Starting in 20.
Yeah, I remember I was at an ACC men's basketball tournament with my good buddy Corbin, and it all started coming out, and we thought, oh, we'll just watch the games on TV. A few hours later, we're going to have to not watch the games. We're going to have to go to the Kids Museum in Greensboro with these boys. That being said, I was at a Reaganites meeting, York County, South Carolina, and I met, for the first time, Representative Norman, South Carolina 5th.
Mm-hmm.
He gives me a challenge coin. I'm flattered. It's only my 5th. He gives me a business card. Has his personal cell phone. So now I'm beyond flattered.
He's crazy like me.
Now I'm flustered. You would like this guy. You met him?
I haven't, I don't think.
Look him up. Well, sorry. Next time you're in D.C., and I know you go, sit down with him, because he leans in close. After about 2 questions, I said to him, what should I be asking you, Representative? You get classified briefings. What do I need to ask you? He looks at the ground, he looks back up, keeps eye contact, and he says, we're going to get another pandemic. And that's about how long I was quiet. And I said, is that your personal opinion or is that from a classified briefing? He kept eye contact. He winked. And he said, that's my personal opinion. Take it or leave it.
Well, I see the wheels turning. I see them putting the puppets in place. And I'm not going to be one of these that say, I told you so, but I am going to be one of these that say, you remember when? You remember when? And this is one of those times. And once again, in the same vein, same thing. Well, Hunter Biden looks like he got himself off the hook with just a slap on the wrist for tax evasion and a gun charge. Funny part, or not funny part, sad part is we're sitting there looking at this, and two whistleblowers from basically the elite IRS tax evasion investigation team have basically spilled their guts to Congress and the Ways and Means Committee, and it gets pretty rough, but this, listening to what they've said, it talks about the president's son scored a sweet deal pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanor for failure to pay taxes and pretrial diversion agreement to avoid a felony firearm charge. He'll likely avoid jail time, and now we have a better idea of how this wrist slap happened. And you go down through here, and it's Gary Sharpley. And folks, I ask you to Google Gary Sharpley. What's one of 3-alarm fire, Bessemer City. All right, I'm closely monitoring. Oh, okay, Patrick McHenry. All right. But Gary Sharpley, and his last name is Shapley. And, Gary's, the bad thing is this is not getting a lot of press. This is not coming out. But you can go on my Facebook page. I put it up. It's Whistleblowers Biden Tune. And it talks about the different things that happened on their way to trying to get this done and how many times they're blocked. A consulting board member, Mr. Sharp claims U.S. Attorney David Weiss was blocked from pursuing those charges from the Justice Department. And they went through the whole thing, basically. It talks about how Assistant U.S. Attorney General, she kept saying, well, we can't do this because that might upset the big guy, and we couldn't interview Hunter's children who had questionable business and dealings in bank transactions because that might make the president mad talking to his grandchildren. And it was on and on how the blocks were put up, how the FBI slow played, allowing them to do any of their searches that they asked for search warrants, even warning the Hunter Biden Secret Service detail that they were coming to do these things, and evidence removed or destroyed. And now Hunter Biden's attorneys are pleading that we have gone so far that that we've lost our the time limit has expired on his supposedly crimes where he tried to cover up getting money from Burmese businessmen and claiming it as loans, not as income. So this whole thing, and part of the time when it expired, has happened during the investigation. So this whole thing is just gone out of control. And I can tell you right now, this is a lot more criminal than what has happened at Mar-a-Lago with our former president, Donald Trump, and the documents that he held at his estate. But there seems to be 2 sets of justices in this United States of America right now. And with the Biden's Justice Department under Garland Merrick, there will continue to be 2 sets of justices in this country. And it is astounding, and the hypocrisy is deafening. The way they have gone about just basically making sure that they get their way and they cover up. And I love to hear the left tell me, the liberal left all the time, oh, how crooked the right is and how we're so deceitful and we're this and that. I'm not going to hear a word about this from them, though. They're just not that way. There's no way that the left could be this vicious and this crooked. Oh, no. Please. This is sad. All right, we're getting ready to go to break. When we get back in, we'll have Adam Bodley, and we're going to talk about all kind of stuff. See you in a sec.
The latest headlines.
Partly cloudy tonight, more heavy rain in the forecast, and a low around 65. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
All right, folks, we're back here for the second half of the show. We got a lot going on. Like I said, got Adam Bodley in the studio with me here. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch. And Adam just says, I said, how should I introduce you? Adam says, Adam from Iredell. I said, okay, that works for me. So, Adam, go ahead and let's give me a little history. Tell us who you are and some of the things you've done. I don't know if we can do it all because, my God, we've only got about 30 minutes. So, go ahead, lay it on us.
I'll just take 30 seconds.
Okay.
My first paid political thing was reelect. Then I did Mitt Romney
George
twice.
W.
George W. Sorry, 41. George W. Bush, our 43rd president of our wonderful, great nation, if she endures, which she will.
Somehow.
But, boy, she's sweating right now.
Yeah, she's tough.
Okay.
Not easy.
So it was George W. Bush, and I asked him a question in the White House after that reelect. And I said, what's your favorite story about Karl Rove? Anyway, that's another story. Mitt Romney twice, John Kasich in South Carolina, Tom Tillis's body man in 2020.
What does that mean? What does when you say body man? It almost sounds like we're going to bump somebody off, which in some places that might be
I think it was coined long enough ago that when you were hanging out with the politician and you're riding stagecoaches and stuff and life was crazier, it's a little macabre, but if the candidate were to pass, you take him home.
Okay. All right. So you was that close with him, man. So he
didn't pass. He didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
He took some naps in the car.
All right, well, good.
One time I had Susan and Tom napping at the same time. And that was really wonderful because that was peaceful. It's like when your kids are asleep.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. So done all that. Then what are we doing now?
So now I get to do some fundraising with Jay Rao, Saligrim and Associates. But on top of that, I'm running around doing some DeSantis stuff.
Okay.
And boy, howdy. I had him in North Augusta, South Carolina, on that South Carolina-Georgia line, right next to, by the way, that Savannah River nuclear power plant. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we had him there at a big old facility with about 6 gyms. We had him in gym number 6. And he did something in that event, which I, in my 2 decades, have never seen. And I kicked myself or pinched myself because I had just taken my youngins, my 20 to 25-year-olds, and said, get back out to that tent. The voters are coming out, and we got to capture that information. And about a minute later, he finishes his questions from the audience, which is a great thing in an event. I advocate it for any politician. Take questions. Answer them. Stand up to your voters. It's not stand up to. Stand up with your voters. And they didn't have any more questions, and he had more time. And he turned his focus to the press pen. during the rally and said to the press pen, "Who's got a question?" And there were youngsters in there. There were no big ones. There were none of these talking heads that we see. And I think they're going to show up next time in South Carolina. And he said, "Who's got a question?" Some hands shot up. He got some questions. He gave some answers. But what was different, and I had never seen, and boy, it just tickled my patriotic soul, was the crowd responded. There had been some standing ovations. Multiple, maybe even more than 5, maybe even more than a handful. But once he engaged with the press and then had 300, I don't know what the attendance was. I think it was 550, somewhere in the 4 to 500s. He had them on his side, and not just on his side, on the team. So it was 600 people, sorry, let's say 500. It was 500 people, 501 with the governor, Ron DeSantis of the state of Florida, talking to like 15 in the press pen. And boy, that applause after each answer, 5 to 6 times louder decibels. And boy, was it amazing. And I'd never seen it, and I don't know who gave him the idea, and I don't know if he had the idea, but I sure would like to find out.
Pretty gutsy, because you don't know what's going to get thrown at you, and you're caught. You're on camera, and you asked for it. So as a politician, I always say, whenever you're willing to tangle with the press, you better be on your game. You better be on your game.
And I think he's gotten tired of the narrative. This is just me spitballing. I think he's gotten tired of the narrative, and he said to himself, or said to someone, and someone said to him, well, why don't you just ask the press pen for their questions? So in the war that is politics, and that is 2024, this is just a little skirmish. I wouldn't even say it's a battle. But I'm going to go ahead and chalk it up to the governor of the state of Florida.
Well, and we just heard here right before we come back, the second part of the show, that Mark Robinson at Salt and Light, which is a Christian-based conference that happened over the weekend that I thought about trying to go to, but I'd already made plans, and it's hard to leave Raleigh on Thursday and turn around and head back to Raleigh on Friday night and be there and then go back home, then back to Raleigh.
I do not envy the amount of miles you've been putting on your body and on your cars.
Yeah,
sir.
It's tough. So anyway, I just decided I would not check into it. Had a lot of great speakers, but Mark Robinson's there, and I'm not sure if Donald Trump spoke at it or not. I don't think he did, but Mark Robinson comes out and endorses Donald Trump, and I think that's pretty gutsy call. Don't know if I completely agree or disagree with it to the fact because it's mighty early. But anyway, so, you're sort of working with the super PAC, but they also are kind of working with DeSantis, and you're in that crowd. What's your take? What's your take on that?
I think, and this could be the lieutenant governor or it could be his consultants, I think that they're awful appreciative of what the 45th president did for him, for his campaign, and got him in that lieutenant governorship, got him in Raleigh. And I'm just going to put in a plug for Lieutenant Governor Robinson right quick. If you haven't heard him speak in person, go do it.
Oh, yeah.
People say, a preacher's son. I don't know what to call him because it's that and it's more.
Yeah.
He feels it, he says it, and he's good at saying it.
Yeah. And he can say things that I definitely can't say, but most of us can't say.
His consultants, I don't know what they do. Maybe they just don't come to the rallies?
I don't know. But like I said, I know he lays it like it is. He tells it like it is. If you don't want to hear that, then you won't like what he's saying. But if you do, he preaches the truth. And I mean preach. That's how it sounds.
He preaches the hashtag truth for the millennials and Gen Zers.
Yeah. But a little surprise. This is early. This is way early. And so to get out there and see before everything shakes out, and like I said,
maybe he's returning a favor.
It could be that.
Maybe he got called on the favor, or maybe he's offering up a trial favor, trying to get some attention from Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, and I don't know. He got endorsed as a lieutenant governor. I don't know if Trump's come out and said anything as far as running for governor for him yet, but maybe that's coming. Maybe it's a tit for tat.
And I would say it's going to be Stein and it's going to be Robinson. And I think that's, okay, so there we go. That's settled. And so it's no surprise that the 45th would endorse whatever number governor he hopes to be. There's got to be a number. I don't know it.
I can't tell you what number that would be.
All right. We don't know everything. We know some things. Jeff knows a lot.
I would say
I'm getting there.
I'd say we're going to fall in somewhere around. We have more governor than president, so I'm going to say we're going to fall into 60s.
I like that. So I endorse that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I'm not even going up or down. I'm going to 62.
Yeah, all right. We'll see where it falls. I have to do a little research and find out.
Someone's going to fact check us. I don't know who it's going to be.
They will. We'll get that for the
caller. No callers yet. All right. If you know, call in
or text me.
There we go. Text Jeff because then he'll look real good.
So anyway, but did think that was kind of unusual. Did think that kind of unusual. Well, let's get back a little bit to the Tillis campaign, just to go back a little bit, because that was a hard.
If Tom's listening, text me. I don't want to give any inside baseball, sir.
Yeah. So, but that was a hard fought campaign, and I'm gonna tell you what: if Cal Cunningham doesn't screw up, and y'all can take that literally or figuratively, who knows? Who knows? It was neck and neck. And even with that, it was still close. And Tom's got in, and Tom's done great things. And then Tom's done some stuff that ain't made everybody happy either. I mean, and Tom, I get it. He kind of, I'd say he's on the right, but he's leaning towards the middle a lot of times. He can be moderate on certain social issues. And that's put him in the crosshairs of the more conservative part of our party a lot of times. But I will say this: Tom Tillis does what Tom Tillis thinks is right. He doesn't doesn't cow down to the pressure. He does what he thinks is right. Now, we don't always agree. I can't find a politician but myself, and sometimes I don't even agree with myself. But, I can't find many that I do agree with 100% of the time. That's a rare thing. So I always tell everybody, if 75, 80% of the time you agree, then he's your man or woman or whatever. So that's where we're at. But, it's interesting. And, I mean, what was your take on that election between him and Cunningham?
It was what I'd call, and I guess we can use some vernacular here, it was a humdinger.
Yeah.
It was a humdinger. And the staffers were nervous, and the candidate was nervous. I'm not going to speak for Tom. The staffers were nervous. My family was nervous. They could see for me that it was tough. But I think it did take a turn when that news came out. And, I mean, we had COVID wrapped in there. Yeah. COVID from the White House. We had... and luckily, somehow none of the staffers got that COVID from that time. I don't think anyone had COVID during that campaign. Someone might fact check me on that, but I got tested and I thought I was going to have it, but I didn't. Because, I mean, sometimes we were 12 to 18 inches hip to hip sitting in my car driving down the road if he was in the front seat, because he wasn't always in the front seat. But bodying Tom was a privilege. Bodying Tom it's my training. When I started out with operation stuff with Mint back in 2008, that's what they put me in. And honestly, when you're young and you work in politics, that's where they're going to put you, advance.
Yeah.
And if anyone doesn't know what advance is, it's the guys and girls that get the event ready.
They're there hours or days before.
I like to say 72 hours. Mm-hmm. Reality, 48. Like, if you're not there till 24 hours before, buckle up, because someone else has already started it, and you're going to get patched in wherever the site lead wants to put you.
Yeah. Well, you got to look at all the different angles. You got to look at security. You got to look at where's the best optics going to be. I mean, there's a lot to go on. Acoustics. I mean, it goes and goes and goes. So, I mean, y'all's job is for when the candidate steps to the podium, everything goes flawless and everybody can hear and the mics all work and everything's going to go off like it should. People don't realize that don't happen all the time. Life's not that easy. So it's work. Let's jump over, though, and talk a little bit about what you're doing. Now, you're working basically for a super PAC right now, raising money for the DeSantis campaign.
Yes,
is that kind of yes and no?
Yes and no. And you've got it. And I love having conversations with people that get it, because if not, it's a 5-minute conversation. But with you, it's 10 seconds.
Jeff. Well, we need 5 minutes. We got some time. No,
okay. I'll stretch it out. Sometimes you stretch, sometimes you squish. John McCain one time, I was telling him, stretch it, squish it. And John McCain he was salty, but he was only salty if he liked you.
Yeah.
So I came in Hilton Head, and I was telling him, stretch it. And he was fine stretching it. He had stories.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
sure.
my friend, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So he was good to go, but he had known me from the day before. I did something for him. Nothing big, but he didn't fall off a riser. And because he didn't fall off the riser, the next day he eyed me and he's like, I'm going to get this guy. And the crowd didn't know who I was, but I came up and got within 20 feet off stage and gave him a little stretch symbol and started walking out. And I hear him saying something to the effect of, oh man, that guy is now telling me I got to talk more, which any politician loves to talk.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I'm digressing. You want me to talk about advance and stuff, or you asked me something else? What did you ask me?
Well, the DeSantis campaign.
Yes, DeSantis. Okay. So I'm doing fundraising. If any of y'all know Jay Rao, she's been doing it for a long time, and she has graciously let me be her VP. She's the president. It's me and her, and there's a third and fourth, and I think we're going to have to get a fifth and sixth.
Really?
Because 2024,
boy,
howdy, it's expensive. Boy, howdy, if people know how to raise it, you grab onto them. So people are trying to grab onto us, and Jay's telling me I got to learn to say no. So I'm trying to say no in my fundraising. So flip that over with DeSantis. I'm doing some South Carolina stuff. I'm enjoying it. Since I'm here in Charlotte, I'm just doing the upstate stuff right there next to Charlotte. And that's what I'm doing. And I had him, and maybe I'll put in a plug for Red, White, and Boom up in York County. That's going to be July the 3rd. Okay. Fireworks. There could be a bus. I don't know.
All right.
There could be a pack bus.
Really?
But that's very much question mark. But there will be literature, stickers, food, a tailgate in support of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at the Rock Hill, York County, Red, White, and Boom. Fireworks. It's our nation's birthday. It's going to be a party. And since
that'd be pretty. If they can get him out of Florida on 4th of July, that's a pretty big draw. That's a pretty big draw. Cause
yeah, and
usually on holidays, you're in your home state.
Yes, we'll be around.
Working the home
people will be around, but will the governor? Who knows? Well, I think maybe his wife might have something to say about that.
What's the target number they think that they're going to have to raise just for the primary? What have they come up with a number?
You talking about Ron DeSantis?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know his financial side. I'm just doing his ops side. That'd be a large number. Well, and someone out there, I'm sure, knows what the campaign's raised, what the super PAC has raised. Those numbers are north of $100 million for the PAC, and I got no idea what the campaign.
I figure the campaign's got to be figuring they're going to have to raise somewhere around a half a billion dollars.
Exactly. And if you end up being the nominee, and I know there's a lot of Trump fans out there, if DeSantis ends up being the nominee, take a look. Obviously, don't vote Democrat, but take a look, and take a look in the primary too. You know, because this process is important, and the debates are going to be important. And I don't know how many people are going to be on the stage, but our 45th president will be there, as will the governor of Florida, as will the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Vivek Ramaswamy, as will Tim Scott, as will Nikki Haley.
Yeah, Haley. I think you'll see Pence. You know, I think
these are all good people.
They are.
Any of them could lead our nation or be in the second spot.
Yeah. I think you're going to see Mike Pence. He's going to last for a while. He's going to make it all the way, but I think he's going to probably last for at least, I'd say at least 3 to 4 primary days, I call them. That's when you have the big multiples, you know, and you get to
that
4
Super
5,
Tuesday?
Yeah, Super Tuesday.
Ooh, and that's what we are here in North Carolina.
And then you'll have another one.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, you'll have another. I guess in the Super Tuesday, too, there's about 8 or 9 states that one day, I think it is.
I think it's up to 18.
Is it that many? Everybody's
don't quote me on that. Let's do it. Let's call it a dozen. Let's call it maybe a baker's dozen at 13.
Well, after that day, it'll all be shook out.
Yes, it will.
Who's left standing after that day will be real interesting because within 7 days after that day,
the first place person.
Yeah, you'll know, and the second will hang in, but the third and fourth might be gone and on. So
yeah, the third and fourth, someone's going to call them home and say, "Hey, you had fun and you spent lots of money, but these kids miss you."
Yeah, and this ain't going to work. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see. Well, let me ask you this much: did you go with this job, the Super PAC, and helping DeSantis because you believe in DeSantis, or did you go because a good career opportunity, or maybe both? You know?
I'll use first names so that everyone gets their privacy respected. There was a gentleman that I hung out with for 60 hours on a campaign, and we had a great time, and it didn't work out. And that was my first opportunity. Then there was a second job offer to go to the wonderful state of Iowa first and to tell a bus what to do and when to do it and how to do it for 7 months. Well, that didn't float because the wife is like, "You're going to live in a hotel for 7 months?" I said, "No, dear. That's a non-starter." I just told him I'd call him back at noon because I'm polite. Got to be a Southern polite boy. That's how my mama raised me. Third thing, finally stuck. And that was this. And let me tell you, I was super grateful. Because working outside of politics I can do. But working inside of politics is what I love.
And with the many different campaigns you've been on, I see that.
Oh, boy.
I see it.
I've done county. I've done state.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I helped you out with anything. If you don't know I've helped you out with something.
Well, I know there was a couple different times I was at different Tillis events. And,
I've seen you everywhere.
Got me closer to the crowd.
I've seen you everywhere. And I loved Rena. And then I saw you pop in and I said, Rena's got a good successor. And she was big shoes to fill.
Oh, she did a great job.
Great
job.
And
kept her mouth more shut than me.
Oh, Rena, if you're listening, yeah, you did a great job. We both liked you.
Yeah, I've known Rena all my life. She's been a great friend, and like I said, it was hard to fill her shoes, and then I had to learn and walk in high heels too. On top of all that,
oh boy! And she's a farmer too. I mean, my dad grew up on a farm. Rep McNeely, he knows about farming. I mean, that's a $1 billion industry in our dear state, the old North State, the land of the longleaf pine. I like to plug it.
Yeah, and we just hit that $1 billion number. Just hit it
for the first time, right?
Yep, first time. Been trying.
Oh boy, I saw that. I love numbers. That 1 and those 9 zeros.
Well, the thing you gotta like is that here in North Carolina, we're the number one industry, and we're moving up. A lot of times your number one target on your back, and it's hard to go, and you usually start heading down, or somebody catches you. But we're heading up, so we're going to remain an agriculture state. No matter whether people like it or not, we are. And
honestly, have you ever met someone that doesn't like to eat?
Well, I've met a couple skinny people that I thought didn't eat enough, but I don't think that wasn't that they didn't like to eat; they just didn't eat enough.
And I've met
people.
They
feel guilty. I don't feel guilty.
I do not. Guilty I'm going to eat something nice after this as a reward. I think I've done a good job.
That's right. That's right. But the thing that a lot of people don't understand, I think I told this maybe on the last show of the show before, but I've said it. Iredell County, we're unique. We're number 10 in farm gate receipts out of 100 counties. We're number 14th in population. There is no agriculture county in the top 10 anywhere close to the population that we have in Iredell. So for us to be as big as we are and have the gate receipts as high as we do, I mean, that's 10 out of 100 different counties that we are number 10 in farm gate receipts. And that's looking at all the big agriculture counties down east, and everywhere you go, we're number 10.
Man, down east, I saw a farm down there.
Thousands of acres.
I rode my bike on it. Don't tell them, but I rode my bike on it, and I didn't get yelled at until on the way out, and I excused myself.
They didn't see you for the first 2 days.
Exactly. I brought my tent. No, just kidding. It was only about an hour and a half, but it was beautiful.
Yeah. All right, we're getting down here. We've got to last about 3 minutes of the show. What is it that you like about Ron DeSantis? Because I always say it's one thing to take a paycheck, but you got to kind of like what you're doing or the people you're working with or for or whatever. What is it about you that made you say, Ron DeSantis, I need him president?
So my first time, that rally I was telling y'all about in North Augusta, South Carolina, and I know that sounds silly because you hear Augusta and you want to start playing golf, and that's fine because come June, the tickets are coming out, and you can think about the Masters. I'm certainly thinking about the Masters. In North Augusta, in South Carolina, across that Savannah River, it was a great event. And I said to myself, especially in the first 10 minutes, I said to myself, man, this crowd's got to get more into it. But it's the beginning of everything, and people are just getting back into rallies. And this is a South Carolina crowd. And they got into it. And I happened to be taping the first time people started standing up and clapping. And I like to not take videos longer than 30 seconds. But by like 20 and 25, I was like, man, this is a good video. You know, because you delete a lot of stuff. I do. I mean, I might take a lot of pictures of videos, but I delete a bunch because I don't want it on my phone.
What you're looking for.
That one's still on my phone.
Oh, really?
Because it was the first stand-up applause line. And it was a little bit electric. And I thought, okay, that's enough. But then he did that thing with the press pen. And then, I mean, like, it just kept going and going and going. And I was like, man, where's the top? So people say he's not electric. People say he can't smile. People say he can't handle the media. I saw it all firsthand. He's a genuine guy. His wife wasn't there. I thought she might be because it's her. She's from that area. She got kin there. But I was impressed. I came away wanting him in the heart. Not just the mind, but wanting him in the heart. And I think that's what a good politician does at a rally. He captures the heart.
Well, I got to hear him at the state convention, and extremely impressed. Extremely impressed. I can see him being president of the United States. All right, so we're getting down here to the end of the show. Give me 2 seconds. Is he going to win?
I think he'll be the nominee, and I think it's going to be a heck of a fight. And I know there's some Trump voters out there that don't like hearing that. I just say to them, check it out.
All right, let me say a prayer for us. Dear Heavenly Father, watch over this country. We got a lot of decisions to make and who's going to lead us. And I pray you just put a godly person in there, Lord. That's what I pray for. That's what we need. Be with us. Watch over us. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Folks, see ya. Take care.
You've been listening to North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely. Join Jeff again next Monday morning at 11:05 for Taking Care of Iredell on News Talk WSIC.
Hey, this is Jeff.